Mike Alcoholic. I got to thinking about Walmart stories, and this is a true story. I was early in recovery, and old girl gave me too much money or some story like that. I can't remember the exact transaction, but I remember I got to the car, and of course, I got away with it. So I was fixing to drive off, and then this wonderful thought came to my mind. I need to take that money back in there so I can go share in a meeting that I did that shit. That's exactly what I did too. And the reason I want to share that story is because whatever gets you here is good. It could be chasing a chick. It could be so I wanted to brag at a meeting. It could be the law brought you here. But what my experience is what brought me here is not going to be what keeps me here. And I promise you that it will change. And the reason I mentioned the Walmart story is because it goes right into the topic and what was read. Because even though the first time I did it, I took the money back for the wrong reason. What did the topic say? Gradually, these things become a working part of your mind. So now I've been able, in my experience and tenure here, and I'm going to fuck up because I'm bragging about it now, but now I've taken it back and not shared about it in a meeting, except for this one, years later. But that's the point I wanted to make, because things will change, even if I do it for the wrong motives early on, like getting here or me taking the change back. I promise if you work the steps that it will gradually change. And I got to thinking about one of my first meetings and also with what was read in the topic. And there was a guy that had a bunch of years in there. And you know how we're good about talking down about ourselves and how we're a piece of shit and telling all these war stories. Anyway, he had like 20 years at that time. And he said, I'm the same sick, selfish son of a bitch as the first day I walked in, and I still don't know anything. And I remember being too intimidated to say anything at that time. But when I had 10 years, he said he rattled off that same shit. And by then I had realized the power of what we say in meetings and the fact that newcomers are listening. And he said, I'm same sick, selfish, so I still don't know anything. And I shared right after him, which I have learned since. You got to wait at least one person between, otherwise they really get pissed off. It's the art of sharpshooting. I'll tell you about it after the meeting. But anyway, he said, and I still don't know anything, and I shared right after him, well, the next time I don't want to know something, I'll call you. I don't think he's ever said that stuff in a meeting since, because I think I taught him the lesson that I've learned, that newcomers are listening and they need to hear something positive about recovery and about themselves. And what was read has some good stuff about us that I can attest is true. Because in that topic, it talked about two big things. It talked about relying on my mental faculties with assurance. And it talked about God giving me a brain to use. And I want to come in here and think that I'm broken, and I got a disease that's telling me that. Telling me I'm broken, I'm supposed to want to drink, I can't think. And then I read something like that, and there's a little bit of hope in that. But with that hope comes a little bit of a responsibility. But I want to put a little reality on that twist. I mean, the fact of the matter is that my best thinking did not get me here. But I have experienced my best thinking since I've been here. I can 100% attest to that. And the fact that, we as out there, we were so cunning, baffling, and powerful, and we kept up with all these lies and where I can't go and all the scams. Hell, we're damn near genius. Well, let me think about it. Doesn't it say on 21 we have a positive genius? I mean, there's a lot of things in this book that try to encourage me. I think in the book it talks about we're fast thinking and imaginative. I think it also talks about on 133, and I know this would be the bane of the existence of that old timer who says he don't know anything. As 133, it says, those of us who have recovered from drinking are miracles of mental health. Holy fuck, you're not supposed to say that in a meeting. Don't say that. Don't say we're miracles of mental health, and if you're caught saying it, they're going to label you a pariah. You're not supposed to say that, Mike. We're supposed to stay down in here because we're supposed to stay humble. Now, most of what you hear as people thinking they're humble is talking about downing themselves in humiliation. There's a difference. So Me saying what God has done in my life and given me my mental faculties that on a daily basis with His help I can use with assurance, that's not arrogant. That's telling the newcomer, you know what? Things can get better. You know, when I say that God gave me a brain to use and He's slowly, as over time, He's given me ability to use that, that's not arrogant. That's not setting myself up to drink. That's telling a newcomer, hey, you know, you may feel broken, but I'm here to report to you, things will change. That's why I like that page, because it gives a promise, but as somebody's already said, there's promises and warnings, but there's promises that have responsibility. And I have observed that alcoholics have a tremendous aversion to responsibility. Yeah. So what I am here to report is that God has woken my mind up and opened my eyes to the fact that there is a lot of good about me. But it's my responsibility to let that shine. I can sit in a room and talk about it. But as recovery goes on, I will be given opportunities to rise to the occasion. And my experience has been, and my observation in my tenure here, is that alcoholics can rise to any occasion. We're fast thinking and imaginative. We're positively genius. And we can be miracles of mental health. And that topic says nothing different than that. And what I'm saying does not contradict the book. It embraces it. So when with Sam, let's read the black part of the book, not between the lines, but let's read all the black part of the book because it's got a lot of positive about us. A lot of times we want to focus on the negative because it's more comfortable to talk about how I pissed in the closet. There's no responsibility in that. But giving myself something to live up to has value, and I'll end with this. The guy that wrote the book, Bill W., talked about how he didn't allow war stories in a meeting early on. He said there was little talk of war stories in those days. He said, frankly, it was nobody's business. It was between you and your sponsor. We made everybody share about recovery because in doing so, we give ourselves something to live up to. Now, that's a quote. That ain't even my words, but I agree with it. I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps in the